Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at ProDentim. You know, all those ads promising Hollywood white teeth with their unique blend. Yeah, those ones, they really caught my eye, I have to admit. So we asked you what you thought, and you sent in a ton of their marketing materials for us to unpack.
Sounds like they know how to get people's attention, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's back up a bit. Where do we even begin with this one? Like, what is ProDentim?
Well, according to their marketing materials, it's a chewable tablet that has probiotics and prebiotics, as well as a blend of plant-based ingredients, all to help support oral health.
And of course, they emphasize that probiotic count.
3.5 billion probiotic strains per tablet. Yeah, that definitely seems like a key selling point for them.
It's like they're throwing down the gauntlet on oral hygiene, saying, hey, our probiotics are better. But is it just a numbers game, or is there something to that?
Right, good question. The marketing really plays up this idea of rebalancing the mouth's microbiome through the introduction of all these probiotics. It's almost like they're suggesting traditional methods of fighting cavities like brushing and flossing have been leading us astray all along.
Makes you look at that tube of toothpaste a little differently, huh? But seriously, haven't we all heard about the gut microbiome and its importance for overall health? Could the same principle apply to our mouths?
It's not as far-fetched as it might seem. The oral microbiome, that collection of bacteria living in our mouths, plays a critical role in our oral health, and potentially even our overall health, too.
So there's more to it than just pearly whites.
Mhm.
It's about the bigger picture of a healthy mouth.
Exactly. When you have a balanced oral microbiome, it can help control plaque by competing with harmful bacteria for resources and even producing substances that inhibit their growth. It also plays a role in preventing bad breath and contributing to healthy gums.
So it's less about waging war on all bacteria and more about creating a harmonious environment in your mouth, almost like tending a garden to make sure the good stuff thrives.
I like that analogy, and that's where the idea of these probiotics comes into play. But the question we need to explore is, can simply popping a probiotic tablet, even with a huge number of strains, really rebalance a microbiome that's been shaped by years of, well, life? We'll delve into that and more right after the break.
All right, so let's talk about these ingredients, because some of these names, they're a mouthful, literally. Lactobacillus B.lactis. It's like they went digging in a science textbook to find the most complicated words possible.
Well, they definitely want to give off that scientific vibe, but it's not all smoke and mirrors. To be fair, they do highlight three specific probiotic strains: Lactobacillus Paracasei B.lactis BL-04 and Lactobacillus Reuteri.
And they're not just throwing these names around for fun.
Yeah.
The marketing materials actually link each strain to specific benefits for your oral health. It's all very targeted, very precise.
Right. It is interesting that they named specific strains. It does lend them a bit more credibility. And to give credit where it's due, there is some preliminary research suggesting potential benefits from these strains.
Oh, really? Like what?
For example, there are studies that have shown Lactobacillus reuteri might help reduce plaque buildup, and B.lactis BL-04 is being investigated for its positive effects on gum health.
So not just random names pulled out of a hat. Then, okay. What about all the other ingredients, though? There's inulin, malic acid, tricalcium phosphate. This is where I start to get lost.
Don't worry, let's break those down. Inulin is a type of fiber that acts as a prebiotic. Basically, it provides nourishment for the good bacteria in your gut and potentially your mouth as well.
So less about directly fighting the bad bacteria and more about giving the good guys a fighting chance.
Exactly. Then there's malic acid, which is naturally found in fruits like strawberries. It's often included in oral care products for its potential teeth whitening properties.
So that's where the Hollywood white teeth promise comes in? Makes sense.
Right. And we can't forget tricalcium phosphate, which can contribute to stronger tooth enamel. And finally, peppermint, a classic for freshening breath. So yeah, individually, most of these ingredients do have some scientific basis for supporting oral health.
Okay, so we've got probiotics with some research backing them up, prebiotics to feed the good bacteria, and a supporting cast of ingredients that seem pretty standard for oral care. But here's the big question, and maybe I'm being too skeptical here, but is there any evidence that ProDentim as a complete product actually does what it claims?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And this is where things get a little murky. While the marketing materials mention scientific backing and even allude to a study, they never actually cite any specific research on ProDentim itself.
It's like they're saying, trust us, we did the research, but they're not showing their work.
Exactly. That lack of transparency should always raise a red flag. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean ProDentim doesn't work, but without solid research to back up their claims, it's hard to know for sure what we're dealing with here.
And in the world of health and wellness, that trust me approach just doesn't cut it. We need to see the receipts, the cold hard data.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially when a product is making bold claims like ProDentim is. And speaking of which, I think it's time we take a closer look at some of those marketing tactics and see how they hold up under scrutiny, don't you think?
Let's do it. Time to put those claims under the microscope. Okay, so they mention a new scientific discovery from May 2022, but then they're really vague about what that discovery actually is.
It's a common tactic. Throw around terms like scientific breakthrough to make it sound impressive, but without providing any real details. It's all about creating that sense of excitement and intrigue without actually backing it up with evidence.
And then there's this one, ProDentim is unlike anything you've ever tried. Really? As they've been spying on my oral hygiene routine, how can they possibly make that claim?
They're playing on our desire for something new and innovative, something that will magically solve all our problems. We're naturally drawn to novelty, but the reality is that claim is impossible to prove.
And speaking of impossible, this one made me laugh out loud. They say ProDentim supports the health of your entire body. I think my teeth have their work cut out for them just focusing on my mouth.
Right. It's a classic example of what I call the health halo effect. They take a product designed for a specific purpose, in this case, oral health, and try to expand its benefits to encompass overall well-being. But the connection is often tenuous at best.
And of course, no marketing campaign would be complete without those glowing testimonials. We've got Sam from Dallas raving about how ProDentim transformed his smile, and Portia from Florida who says her breath has never been fresher. But are these real people or just paid actors?
Testimonials can be persuasive because we connect with personal stories, but it's crucial to remember that these are just anecdotes carefully selected by the company. They don't represent the experience of everyone who uses the product, and there's no way to verify their authenticity.
And then just when you think they've laid it on thick enough, they hit you with the bonus content. A free detox guide, teeth whitening tips, all yours if you order now. Plus a limited time discount because, scarcity creates urgency.
It's all part of the sales funnel designed to make the offer irresistible. Create a sense of urgency, increase the perceived value, and boom, you've got a sale. But as savvy consumers, we need to be able to see through these tactics and focus on the product itself.
So where does that leave us? Should we all be rushing out to buy a lifetime supply of ProDentim based on what we've learned?
So the bottom line is this ProDentim does contain ingredients that have some scientific support for their individual benefits. But crucially, there's no independent research to prove that the product as a whole actually delivers on its promises.
It's like they're showing off a team of all-star players, but we haven't actually seen them win a game yet.
Precisely. And while the marketing is undeniably slick and persuasive, it ultimately relies heavily on buzzwords, vague claims, and a lack of transparency.
It's a good reminder that when it comes to our health, we can't just take these claims at face value. We need to do our due diligence, look for credible evidence, and be wary of anything that sounds too good to be true.
Absolutely, because knowledge is power, and understanding the tactics being used to market these products gives us the power to make informed decisions about our health and well-being.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into ProDentim. A huge thank you to all of you for joining us and for sending in those marketing materials. Remember, we're always on the lookout for our next deep dive, so if you have a product or topic you'd like us to investigate, send it our way. Until next time, stay curious, everyone.